Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. It's exciting to be here with this panel today. This is not my first time in Jordan, but this is my first time speaking at a conference here, so I'm really excited. And I want to thank the organizers. They've done an amazing job so far. And yeah, let's get into the panel directly. We'll start off by spending a bit of time introducing each of the panelists. Each panelist will speak a bit about what they've done, their background, their experience, and why they're here, and why is it relevant to the audience. Then we'll do a deep dive into applying AI into their specific sectors or industries in heavy industry. We'll look at implementations, some lessons learned, and some future plans. And then we'll open the floor for the audience to ask any questions they might have. I'm going to start off by introducing the panel. We have Amr Hojaina, who's a Delphi champion at Schlumberger. He has a lot of experience in digital transformation, artificial intelligence, and a lot of digital and software development stuff. And I had a really interesting discussion with Amr yesterday about the work they've done, the achievements they've done, and their experience with getting data and putting that data into a usable format. I'm hoping he will be able to tell us a bit about it today. We have Samir Ayatra. I just met Samir today, but I'm excited to have a discussion. He's the executive director at SAM Engineering with a lot of experience in water, power generation, and mining, and AI in that. And we're going to talk about that now. Kristen Lennox comes from Beyond Limits. She's a technical head for industrial IoT. She leads a team developing custom AI solutions for manufacturing, and she has a lot of manufacturing experience in both aerospace and oil refining, right? And Hamza Nasser is the general manager at Live Admins. We had a discussion, Hamza and I, yesterday. He doesn't come from a heavy industry background, but he comes from a very relevant customer experience, AI, live chat background that we'll have a question specific about this for the heavy industry today. Let's start off by each panelist giving us their background and an intro about themselves. And Kristen, you want to start off?
I would be delighted. My name is Kristen Lennox. I'm currently working at Beyond Limits. I got my PhD in statistics from Texas A&M University. I was actually working at that time in bioinformatics, so studying the protein folding problem, understanding how DNA encodes proteins, how they fold up, and then how they behave in the body. From there, I became a postdoctoral researcher at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory in California. I was eventually converted to a staff member, and I was the founder and first director of the statistical consulting service for the laboratory, which I led for a little over 3 years. It was tremendously exciting. It gave me a very broad base of experience in projects relating to many different fields in science and engineering. From Lawrence Livermore, I accepted a position as a principal data scientist at GE Aviation. And I was working with their manufacturing operations division and trying to find ways to leverage data and other technological methods to make jet engine manufacturing more efficient. I also did some work with their spares business. And about a year ago, I joined Beyond Limits as a principal data scientist. And my first project, which I'm still very heavily involved in, was developing cognitive AI solutions for oil refining and other forms of chemical engineering. And about 6 months ago, I became the technical head for industrial IoT. So in addition to my technical role, I also have oversight over our manufacturing and robotics projects. And I think that what I can bring to the panel is that I am a practitioner in AI and data science. I've had experience in a wide variety of fields, and I've seen a lot of what causes things to work well when you're trying to deploy AI, either in industry or in broader engineering contexts, and what are the kinds of challenges that you might encounter.
Thank you, Kristen. That's pretty amazing.
Shukran. So, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Amr Hojaina. I am basically coming from Schlumberger. My background, actually, I'm a computer engineer. So I have been working with Schlumberger for 13 years. And basically, what we are trying to do here is just to share with you the experience of oil and gas industry on moving into the AI space. And I was really lucky to be part of a digital team inside the organization where we learn a lot on the new way of working, combine the data-driven solution with physics-based solution, and then we can get more insights about oil and gas data across the value chain. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Samir Ayasra. I'm Executive Director for SAM Engineering. My background is electrical engineer and my core is automation. And when we say automation, that means sensing, machine sensing, and sensing drives more data. And from that data, we deliver data to the customers. And today we are into more industrial 4.0 and artificial intelligence to bring more value to our customers. We are running today many POCs in facilities, in heavy industries and light industries. And we are looking forward to bring more partnership with our customers to deliver them more value. Thank you.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Hamza, and on this panel, I am what you can refer to as the Malcolm Gladwell's outlier. The only thing that I have common with the heavy industry is that at 97 kgs, I identify as heavy. Henry Ford very famously said that you can have any car you want in any color as long as it's black. And then Ford Fiesta, which is one of the latest cars that are now released, they actually called in artists to come in and create any color they want and enabled customers to buy it. I deal with customer experience, and I work in a company in which we provide cognitive intelligence, and we help humans be better humans, and we help machines understand humans better. I'm just going to break the topic down instead of going into more detail about who I am, because you can Google me and you'll find all the information, and I cannot hide it, unfortunately. Essentially, the topics that we will be discussing, specifically me, first, digital transformation. How many of you know what digital transformation is? Raise of hands. Okay, good number. For the rest, essentially, it is just adapting modern techniques to make things available through technology. How many of you know what customer experience is? How many of you know the difference between customer experience and customer service? Okay, brilliant. Customer experience in general is the relationship that a customer has with a company and everything within it. Maya Angelou very famously said, people forget what you said, people forget what you did, they do not forget how you feel. I'll give you a real-time example that I just noticed last night. Dr. Ramsey was mentioning a company that he employed to actually get smart contracts done, and within 2 weeks, they had the entire implementation done from end to end. Customer experience is something you don't care about when the economy is well, because you just go ahead and do what you do. Unfortunately, welcome to the bad economy, and that's where it matters. And that example is exactly why it is crucial for you to focus on the customer, to be customer-centric, if you will. Put the customer in the middle of the experience, because we call it the experience economy. It has this innate ability to take someone who is anonymous, which means you have no idea who they are, to an advocate, because he spoke about a company that does not exist here, is probably not local, and yet it got mentioned in the middle of entirely the right target audience. And that's what I help companies achieve. Again, my name is Hamza. I'm from Live Admins. We help conversations do better. Thank you.
Thank you, Hamza. I have a question specifically for you coming down, like in a few minutes. Let me start off with digital transformation. You mentioned digital transformation. Everybody is saying digital transformation these days. Many people don't understand what digital transformation is. I want to start off by asking our panelists to describe what they believe or what they understand or what they practice to be digital transformation in their respective industry sectors or places of business. I want to start off with Amr on this question, because we had a discussion yesterday about this. Amr, can you start us off? Then we'll get opinions and input from everybody. Thank you.
Definitely. So first of all, today, most of us knows that technology drivers is changing. This is due to the new emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, cloud computing has been introduced to fundamentally change the way how we are working today. And if you basically Google it today, what is digital transformation? And what is the meaning of it? So you will find hundreds of results. But basically, it's just to understand the digital words itself. So for you, if you see digitizing is basically how you make any organization is a paperless. Means that each and every organization should scan and get all their data electronically saved in a storage-based solution. This is digitizing. Digitalizing means that how you bring three components together. People, data that has been generated by these people, and the communication that makes this data fly among each other. And the easiest way to understand this is to give an example today. Everybody has a Facebook account, LinkedIn account. So this is called a digital platform. Why? Because I am a user, I can create my post, which is the data. People start interacting with that post. That means I have a digital platform. So now the definition, it's very clear. How to use it, it depends on the industry. So what we are trying to do in oil and gas is to create a digital platform that can ingest all variety difference of data, like drilling data, production data, installment data, into one digital platform, and try to automate the quality check of the data, the federation of the data, and basically create something called a well-known entity. Means that we are facilitating all the data to be directly delivered to the assets. So digital transformation is how to put all this together and make sure that you can use automation, you can use the new emerging technology to accelerate and get faster result and reduce the turnaround time to either reach more ROI or create more production into our understanding, for example, the underperforming wells. So this is how we see it in terms of the oil and gas. Thank you.
Thank you, Amr. Kristen, would you like to add anything about this?
Certainly. So I think digital transformation is particularly exciting in manufacturing applications because they do have typically very well-instrumented facilities. So in an oil refinery, there are sensors everywhere. And they have typically been storing this data from all of their production runs for months to years. And the opportunity for digital transformation is how do we take this vast trove of information that's basically just been sitting in cold storage, and people are either not looking at it at all or they're only looking at very small subsets of it. But how do we take all of it in its entirety and use modern data science and AI techniques to allow it to change how the business is run? A digital transformation is more in a sense than digitization. It's more than replacing paper with screens. It's giving you new opportunities that you couldn't even imagine 10 years ago to improve your business. And it's tremendously exciting.
Thank you. Nasser? Hamza, Nasser, anybody wants to interject?
Absolutely. So the way I see it, obviously, is from the CX point of view. It helps because if you look at birds, you see they're free, but according to Bob Dylan, they're also chained to the sky. So I'm not limited by the experiences or by legacy. In terms of how I see digital transformation is essentially just adopting to the new trends and ensuring efficiency, adaptability, scalability, and be ready to face the challenges that the environment will potentially bring into the table. So the Industry 4.0, that is what exactly it's about. You're taking in all the technologies, and you've heard all the buzzwords. It's IoT, it's blockchain, and you're probably going to listen to a lot more of that in the deep dives, which I encourage you to participate in. And the way we see it, it is just adapting to the environments that you now live in. 100 years ago, if you were part of a company, and if you were just starting now, you'll have 100 years of experience to cope up with. A company called EXO, for example, helps you to bring in exponential objectives. They call it moonshots, for example. How will you set up an objective which is a challenge of the now? And how do you manage it with the experience economy? So the way we see it, digital transformation is just being ready to deal with the challenges of now while predicting what the future can bring and fixing it. It's like you already know. I mean, one example that on top of my mind, Schneider Electric, for example, partnered up with Microsoft for a solar panel system in Nigeria. And the idea there was quite simple. Through some sensors, they figured out exactly when one of these solar panels would stop working, send in a technician and fix it before that happens. It's a predictive analysis. Obviously, that's a very small function. The way we look at it is extremely broad and has all the different components that make sure that your journey as a customer is frictionless or seamless, if you will. Does that help?
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm going to move on to a different question right now. I want to ask about data. Kristen, you mentioned something very important. A lot of institutions or a lot of manufacturing plants or businesses are collecting a lot of data over time. That data has been in cold storage for a very long time. And with the explosion in better algorithms we have and better hardware we have, we're able to process data much better. We're able to run more sophisticated algorithms faster. How are we going to make use of this data? How are we going to structure this data in a way that it becomes actually usable instead of just having data sitting somewhere in cold storage? What's your experience in transforming that data from data sitting somewhere into data that's being actually used?
It's again, a tremendously exciting time to be working in data science, both because we're capable of collecting and storing data at a level that didn't used to be possible. Even 20 or 30 years ago, you wouldn't have the petabytes of storage that you have today. But even once they had the enormous advances in storage, what would happen was people would write the data and then they would leave it alone. There was a joke at the laboratory. There was a particular scientific system, and they said that its database was a write-only database, in that you would write the data and then you'd never pull it out again. And that was because a human being would have to come up with a very specific question that they wanted to ask about that data, and then they'd have to pull the very specific little piece of data that they wanted, and then they would have to plot it using whatever their favorite program was. And it was a very manual process, and you would never even touch most of what was there. What we have now is both a capability of automation for data processing, so that you can, in fact, search for patterns in thousands of variables without specifying each of them individually. There are also a lot of opportunities to look at unstructured data. So, for example, medical records or anything that's text. You used to have a person read it and pull out the numbers, and then you could do something to the numbers. And now you can have the machine look for the numbers for you and do analysis of the text directly. And so you don't have to have the specific question in mind. You can just go looking for things and see what interesting patterns emerge, and it's amazing. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Perfect answer. Nasser.
Samir.
Samir. Sorry. Mix up. You develop solutions
Correct.
for data collection.
Correct.
What's your experience in collecting that data and making it actually usable for your customers? Like, can you tell us a bit about something you've done, or an incident, or like an implementation you have where you've actually been able to not only collect data, but make that data actually productive, put like a return on investment in collecting the data?
You know, in my world, in the automation and energy world, there's plenty of examples on the applications that we had with the customers. Some of them are well prepared with their data, and some of them are not. Yeah. Let me describe it in a way. I have one customer. He's delivering 100 million cubic meter per year to Amman city. Yeah, he's well prepared, and he has a historian system. He has a asset management system. He has an energy management system. He has it all. But his problem now, that he's not able to enhance his KPIs, or that he has all the tools because he has a lot of data. Yeah.
Right.
And now what we are doing with them, that we put an AI tool on top, Yeah. So the AI tool will correlate all the information, yeah, from the past and even real time. And what will happen that we will able to, let's say, predict and enhance their supplies and and the demand as well, to, let's say, optimize their operations and even the maintenance. Yeah. So yeah, with AI tools, yeah, you are able to gather all those type of the huge amount of data, and you can analyze and predict what is required for the operation maintenance.
Excellent, thank you. I'd like to also ask Amr about his experience. I know we spoke yesterday about being able to convert application-specific models into non-application specific data, where you're able to extract the data from vendor models and make it available to those who don't have the application or don't need it to be able to work with the data. Can you just very briefly tell us about that experience and how you're able to like outsource, like make everything available as open source APIs and stuff for that?
Sure. So it's very good, really, explanation from us. I just want to add on the doctor. So basically, today, the data, you have different kind of structure, unstructured data, images, PDF, whatever, semi-structured data even. Today, we have the technologies that can ingest this data, get the insight from this data. But after you build this solution to ingest all this data, clean all this data, you have another big problem, which is bounding this data with the specific industry application. An example, today, if somebody sends you a Word file and you don't have a Microsoft Office, will you able to see what is inside this data? You cannot. Why? Because this data has been specifically designed to be opened by that application. And in order to open that application, you need a license for that. So the way how we did it actually in oil and gas is we start first liberating the data from being linked with the application. So this liberation will give any developer create new workflows, be more innovative because the data is not anymore linked with that application to do some business or to create some solutions. And when you have created these solutions, you want basically to go out of the box. Means today the application that is getting use of this data, it's being developed by C++ plus C# and putting into that libraries to run onto that VMs. But what about to deconstruct this application into a microservices? Get out all these engines that has been just execute by the end user to go through that menu to call that function. So you can imagine, you liberate the data, you liberate the engine, then you can create a lot of experiences that you can link in oil and gas, for example, planning with execution. So if I give you another example to make it more clear, where we use really this kind of liberation of the data and the execution of it. So look into the drilling data. So most of the clients today, they drill thousands of wells. But every time they want to drill a new well, they have to create, again, a new drilling programs, which take them, for example, 1 or 2 months. But if you have all this data already ready and you can apply analytics and you can train an algorithm to understand what was the best well you drill into that area, so you can come up immediately with the proposed initial drilling program based on the history of the drillings that you have. So not to deliver this data again into a PDF file or Excel file into a database, no. To encode this data into a language machine can understand. Means that you can use an industry Internet of Things to push all this digital planning that has been learned from all the previous drilling into an execution that you can put some smart circuits, for example, and you can do a lot of robotics. So that means you are connecting planning with execution. You are removing actually the human error and the risk. So this is the way how we are using it, for example, in oil and gas.
Perfect, Amir. Thank you. I want to ask Hamza a specific question. He comes back from a customer experience and live chat, chatbots, and so on background. And I have a question on how that might be applied in heavy industry. Hamza, like in heavy industry, we have a lot of frontliners who are, for example, fixing equipment on site, who are fixing oil and gas facilities. These are techies that go down to the field. These techies do not always have all the information or the technical know-how to fix something that's really tough or complicated or complex. They always have to refer back to a second line of escalation or to the vendor, going back to them, requiring time and information from the vendor or the high-level support that backs them up. Do you foresee the possibility that some type of live chat or chatbot would be able to be the first level of escalation for those techies in the field, so they could ask the technical questions, or they could do like smart searches where they can get specific technical answers to specific technical questions directly from the field instead of going back to the vendor in a live chat or in live connection?
Absolutely. So to start with how human beings operate, we are social animals. We like conversations. If we have an innate ability to be understood, we want to be heard. Imagine data as something that you cannot process as of now. You have to go to it and it has to come back to you. That's how it's currently working. Numbers-wise, 2.5 quintillion bytes are produced every day, and we currently operate only on 0.5%. Silos are not an Arab problem, it's a human problem. We like to keep information to ourselves, we like to keep systems separate, we do not like collaborating, we do not like to share credit. That's how we are. We believe, given the nature of the industry, people are widespread. They usually go to one system or the other, to different mediums, and it can be connected by putting one system in the center of all of this, which does not differentiate based on who you are and where you are. If you should have access to something, it should make that information readily available to you. So one example that I can give you is of Komatsu Inc. out of Japan. And I was listening very closely to what Pravai's AI also does. Essentially, my question was, going beyond even just the workers, as a customer, why would I care? What do I get in the end? I mean, you're doing something better. Do you just make deliveries faster? I mean, if I order something on Amazon, you'll bring it to me? Truth is, it's in the end impacting everyone internally and externally. What they've been able to do is reduce the hours of you being able to just ask information about a construction site by sending drones in a 20-minute video and a few hours of just editing it by giving you a 3D geoprinted map which shows you exactly what the current status is. We believe a system like a chatbot, again, with a star sign, it needs to be properly implemented. It needs to be able to talk to the systems, bring in information two-way, can create a small, nice little window in all these silos and connect all of them. So as a worker on a site, you could bring in information to you, because if you have information and if you have a question, you can simply just ask the question and it will have the capability to answer the question by cross-checking it from multiple sources for you in real time. So essentially, it's just augmenting your own intelligence in real time, is how we foresee it.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you. I have one more question for everybody, like just very briefly. I don't think we have a lot of time. 10 minutes, okay. So very briefly, lessons learned. Like, can you just, each of you, mention one or two things anybody implementing AI right now has to look out for? What are the pitfalls of implementing AI, and what to look for while implementing AI in real life? I mean, like, AI is hyped. Let's talk about real life implementations, lessons learned, like very briefly. Kristen?
Probably the biggest lesson I've learned is that you have to make sure that you have buy-in from the people who are going to be using your system. This is an experience that I've had repeatedly every place I've ever worked. It doesn't matter if I think that the application is exciting or interesting, or if I think that the tool is easy to use. If the people who are actually going to be using it, who typically have a different background than I do, don't like it, or feel threatened by it or don't think that it's easy to use, they'll just put it on a shelf and never use it, and it will not help anybody. So the most important thing I've learned is that as you are developing AI tools, you need to work with your user base, and that's something that we're very passionate about at Beyond Limits. I'm interacting with our customers every day, and they're integrated in the design of our systems and the testing of our systems to make sure that they will want it on day one, or actually on day -1, so that they will serve as our champions with their management and in their industry.
Okay. So I think first you need to have a problem to apply AI. For us in the industries, everybody, maybe some of the companies, so it's a luxury. So in oil and gas specifically, the problem is distributed into 4 main pillars. And it's varying. So if you are talking about drilling, production, where you have a huge amount of data, a lot of instruments, data is coming, so it was very easy to apply AI. Why? Because AI too good and more professional if you have a huge amount of data to come up with the solution. You just listen to the data and come up with a prediction solution. But another 2 pillars, which was really very complex, is if you are talking about field development plan or reservoir characterization, where you basically don't have a huge amount of data everywhere. You have a vast amount of data, but in very specific area. And to be able to come up with a solution to accelerate, for example, seismic interpretation, seismic processing, you have to create a very complex learning concept for algorithm to understand, for example, how the faults look like inside the seismic image. Because basically, it is an image, and each and every image is represented by 3 main colors: red, green, and blue. So today, if you go to the airport, for example, you don't have to go and stand in front of the officers. You just scan your face. The AI solution will understand the distance between your nose to your eyes to your ears, and it will identify you are that person. It is the same thing in oil and gas. So today we have seen this become very successful to train a deep convolution neural network to understand how the faults look like inside a seismic image. So you can imagine how much time that can really help the organization to fastly explore a huge survey of seismic. So this is just one example. Another example is tomorrow we will have a presentation. We can share more of these examples. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne.
Yeah, I agree with Amr. First of all, the customers need to highlight his bottlenecks, in the operation or he had. Most of the time, customers, they don't like to share data, or they don't like to share their challenges. Right. They will show you that, we are in a good shape, we are doing everything fine, and the operation is done. But this is through their learning experience, But in reality, it's only related to one guy who has long term of experience in this plant, So the main challenge is to bring awareness that those type of tools gonna help you. They will not replace you. This is the main challenge, and they will help you and help the team. Right. Who will handle the situations in your absence, and also the decision making gonna let's say be more defined and clarified to them, so they are able to take better decision making on the system.
Perfect, thank you. Hamza?
So I draw my inspiration from where I'm staying. Conrad Hilton famously said, "We have key performance indicators and standard operating procedures so that we can deal with the common problems much more faster and focus on the uncommon problems." Technology is an enabler. It enables you with more information, with more data, and with more performance capability to deal with what is uncommon and deal with that more efficiently. Instead of being scared of what can bring in, I mean, the biggest problem with human beings is we start believing we are smart. Remove yourselves of the expectations. Be in the moment and figure out what your journeys are. Where are you headed? And then see what are the pitfalls? What are the issues? What needs to be improved? And then employ technologies based on that. I mean, I've been listening in the entire day, and that's what the focus has been. Learn fast, apply fast, fail fast, and then redesign all your objectives. And that's what I'll leave you with. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so yeah, thank you. I think these are the questions for today. I think we ran out of time, so.
Thank you.
You want us to start answering the questions on the screen or questions from the audience? Screen? Okay, so let's start with the first one. Raneem, how do we guarantee a good quality of data for a specific domain without relying on experimental judgment? Who wants to take that one?
So I think this is up here a couple of times. One of the biggest challenges with big data is that a lot of the data is not of high quality. That's not going to stop. So unfortunately, when you're acquiring huge amounts of data and it's sort of convenience data, so it's things that you're collecting incidentally as opposed to deliberately via experiment, your quality is going to be highly variable. I don't think it's a situation where we can guarantee quality. It's a situation where we have to be aware of the fact that there are going to be challenges with the data. We have to understand what they are, and we need to use methods that are going to be robust against them.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Let's take one more question. What is the new trend of supply chain with AI in future? Who wants to take that? Hamza?
So the new trend is the exact same that it's always been. You want to improve the supply chain as you always have had. There's been multiple examples. Toyota, for example, has robots that create robots now. Amazon, for example, is delivering based on where you are through drones. When you look at supply chain, there's a lot of data that you're sitting on already, and you obviously have systems. The systems could be legacy, the systems could be the latest ones. What you need to be able to do is see what works for you. Obviously, the Arab Potash Company, for example, will look at their supply chain very, very differently as compared to Noon.com because they have a completely different problem. Even Noon.com itself has a 75% market share in Riyadh, for example, as compared to Amazon, which has a 75% market share in Dubai. So based on who you are, you have to understand your own customers, and there is no one cookie cutter model that's going to decide what the biggest issues are and what technology will affect you. Obviously, based on where your journey is in terms of what your vision is and what is the expectation that you've set, you will need to understand your own pain points and deliver and apply technologies that you need to meet your vision. You have to figure out your own problems in order to figure out what the solution is. So the new trends obviously are all the buzzwords that you've probably already heard and you will continue listening to. Which one of that applies to you depends on your unique situation. And that is why you need to come up and create an ecosystem. This ecosystem probably requires you to partner up. Government, for example, need to be able to exchange information between them. Healthcare, for example, specifically here does not share information to the extent, and I live in Dubai. In Dubai, if I go to one clinic and if I go to the same clinic again, they don't have my historical analysis. I'm talking about the same clinic. You should be able to know. If Facebook can customize their ads based on what picture I liked 6 years ago, you should be able to do it as a government. I'm just giving you a very broad example. Obviously, bringing it down, evaluate your own supply chain, figure out what you can do, come up with some measurable objectives, and apply technology, customers, and collaborate instead of competing, because that's how everyone wins.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Let's take one more question. Industrial operations are sensitive and need case-by-case decisions. How can AI deal with this problem? It's either Amr or Samir. Who wants to take this question? Or both of you, please. Yeah.
Fine. So again, referring to the previous explanation about, first of all, we have to understand the pain point. So most of the companies today and organizations start to understand that digital transformation is not only about delivering a processes or presentations or a PowerPoints. It's basically how you start digitizing the digital transformation itself. So how you can link it into the industry technology. But again, they face another problem, is data residency. I cannot use the cloud. I cannot share my data. So in this case, you cannot learn from whatever Google, Microsoft, Beyond Limit, all these big giants that they are already investing multi-million of dollars. They have used and trained a ready algorithm that just need your domain experts to put on top of it as a flavor to come up with a solution. So this is one of the main challenges today, and the case that is really preventing most of national oil companies inside the Middle East to move into that space.
Sami? Yeah, it's clear that everyone should understand that government should talk to and companies should talk to each other. Yeah, you have every entity is disconnected from the other one. Yeah, and to be able to observe and take and go through the AI journey, you need to share as well as to make connectivity between all entities, and this will help achieving the AI in a good way. Yeah.
Okay, I think we were told that we have a few minutes more, so we'll take one or two more questions. Okay, I like the one at the bottom. It says, so digital transformation sounds like more IoT than AI for me. What role does AI play in digital transformation? Can you give us an example? Interesting question. Who would like to take that one?
Yeah, so
what we're saying is digital transformation sounds like more IoT than AI for me. Yeah. What role does AI play in digital transformation? Can you give us an example? I want to ask Kristen first, if I may, because you're working with IoT, data collection, manufacturing, AI, and stuff. Can you start us off? Amr is excited to answer also. Samir, I'm sure, has an answer. Hamza, for sure, has an answer. So
it's a very good question. So IoT, I interpret as a data availability issue, which is that you are now pulling data off of machines that previously were not going to be interconnected, and you can put it up in the cloud and you can manipulate it there. So AI is what happens once it gets to the cloud. So how are you going to work with that data and turn it into actionable information? And I'd say that there are certainly more examples than there are people sitting up on this panel. Mine is going to be for the refinery work that I do, where we pull a lot of sensor data out of the refinery, we put it up in the cloud, and then we are basically bouncing this against a plan for how we think the refinery should be run, and we provide feedback to engineers and operators to give information on where there are opportunities to improve operations or where there are opportunities to improve the plan. So it's IoT is sort of how it gets there, and then AI is what happens once you're able to pull it all together.
Okay, thank you. So basically today, AI is the fuel of the digital transformation. So any digital transformation strategy without an AI element into it is just not really going to work. Because today, if you look, everybody is talking about 5G. So 5G technology is introducing more than 1,000 devices to be connected to the industry of things. So you are collecting all this data. It's easy for you now to collect this data and stream it to either cloud, on public cloud, but without having use of this data, you cannot do anything. So that's why AI for us is the fuel for any digital transformation. And basically you do AI depends on the problem that you are going to solve. And if you are having a problem, for example, to solve on supervised learning, unsupervised learning, or reinforcement learning, this basically understanding how the way you are going to approach your problem. And for us, even today, when we are going home, for us, it's a problem. Which road I'm going to follow? Is there a traffic there or not traffic? What is making things work is your brain to have an AI algorithm to let you go the right way to come back home. So that's why AI for us in digital transformation is the fuel. And each and every CEO in any organization, if you didn't really put an AI proof point to make sure that this strategy is going to work, is not going to accept it. So IoT is just an enabler for us to collect data. AI is a brain to make it happen.
Perfect, thank you.
Let me share an example about machine learning and the differentiation between IoT and AI. So let's say you have a pump, running in a plant, and the IoT tools will enable you to gather those data, sensing from this machine. So what you are able to get with IoT tools is the information from the pump, and learn the past data and relate that with the real data. Okay, this is the point, that you have the real data and also the past data. And with the AI tools, you are able to determine the normal and abnormal conditions for this operation, and determine even the peak efficiencies for this pump. So then you have with the analytics, and the prediction part of the AI, you are able to say to evaluate the number of days for this pump to fail. Okay, and this is it will give you to tell you that okay, after 180 days, if you remain in this type of condition, it will fail after 180 days. So in this way, you are able to resolve those problems, and without having any shutdown, and extend the operation time for this pump. So this is a simple example just to bring up the AI concept to the machine.
Thank you.
So I completely agree with it. So IoT essentially is one of those channels or a funnel through which you're collecting information. Essentially, IoT is the sound of machines. That's how they talk. So I mean, look up Remo 1000. They've made a couple of ads like that, where you can just talk to your, I don't know, Google Home, and you can play music and you can heat your coffee or what have you. That's all data that is coming in. Making sense of the data is the brain, AI being the brain, utilizing all these data sets to create predictions. I'm gonna give you, because that's what I do, a completely unrelated example. Chess came up because the Shah of either Persia or India, they fight about it because they like that. They created a game which took luck out of the equation. There was no dice, there was no cards. You had to use your brain to be able to do it. And then the person who created it just came up with a problem. The Shah wanted to reward him, and he said, I want just a simple grain of rice on every single piece I've created, and I need you to double it by the end of it. And the Shah said, oh, that's easy. He just said, you know what, get it done. And the advisors came to him and he said, this person has practically asked for more rice than the world has ever produced.
Right.
That's the calculation that the creator had done, and the Shah did not see coming. So obviously he got the head cut off. The next version of it was Alpha. Now, Alpha was a game that was created by human beings for human beings. Again, requires a lot of logic, and you need to be able to work with it. And then you bring in a machine for a game that was made for humans. It calculates all the different possibilities, and when at some point in time, a machine was able to beat them. A lot of human beings then actually had an argument that, hey, why would you give a game and give them all the possible conditions and all the possible problems and have us put up against AI? This is not a regular challenge. That's when Go was created. In the case of Go, AI was not given any data sets. It was not given any new knowledge. It was not given any historical analysis. And within a few moments, it had already done all the possible calculations, just bringing in the history that it had, and beat the human being anyway. That is what AI is able to do. It can learn from cumulative all of the past experiences and take a new data set and make much more sense of it now. So IoT is a simple data funnel, and essentially AI is the brain that can process that information, if that makes sense, which I believe is what the panel already said.
Nice answer, Hansa. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. I think we ran out of time. I want to thank all the panelists for today. I think this was a really exciting panel for me. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.